job interview, and it was sort of one of those practical sort of things where they run everybody through different sorts of exercises. One was a press conference, a mock press conference. And one of the guys did it overnight about it and basically said, I withdraw my candidacy and he would not go to the meeting.
Wow.
Which, given the circumstance, probably is a good thing, but you gotta make a different search.
Yeah, you would think so.
Yeah.
Well, it is now 7 o'clock, and I call this meeting of the General Government and Public Safety Committee to order. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Comments from citizens?
Seeing them.
Pave my road.
But your road's not in the city. We've been through that before.
As soon as Thompson annexes Centralia, we'll revisit that
Wow.
topic.
Hearing none. Move on to General Government and Finance, Economic Development.
I guess we'll wait for the chamber report for next week, because I was in Jeff City and was not able to attend the chamber meeting. I presume Jenny will be able to make it.
And including the EDC application process?
I wanted John to be here for this, because he's been the one that's had the greatest concern.
Well, we can certainly move it around and move it to the back if we believe John will be here.
Yeah, why don't we?
Okay. Tabling that for later. Park Board. You have an agenda in your packet. Any comments or questions?
I believe that Phyllis included minutes from the last meeting.
She did.
Yeah. Shoot.
I don't have any.
No, I have the library, I have the agenda, and next thing is the...
Okay, well, all right, I will make sure you get copies of the minutes of October 16th.
A month or so ago, I went to the park board meeting and I had a request from a citizen that they make the parking lot in the rec center one way, because there's a lot of times when people are exiting the entrance to the school, and there's been a couple times when there's almost been an accident there. So,
People aren't driving fast enough for there to be all accidents, unless they just
I
aren't
know, working.
Did you, it's a park board's decision.
Right, and I talked to the park board about it, so I just wanted to let y'all know.
Anything else on the park board?
Besides, people they meet every day, but when somebody's there, they're drunk one the wrong way.
Okay, moving on. Cemetery report.
None.
And tree board?
Well, I take that back. I don't know whether they got avenue flags down, but they were not able to raise the entire avenue flags because of winds
Weather.
and
Sure,
kind of
sure.
weather, and I don't know what, the 27 they put out were for servicemen killed in action. And
Killed or missing in accident, yeah.
to not know what condition those were in when they took them down, probably pretty heavy.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was pretty windy the last couple of days.
Yeah. Tree board report.
None?
And library board.
Agenda.
And agenda.
And that was for tonight. That's it.
What's called up last one?
Let's offer it.
I think that's the minutes yet.
Exactly. Moving on to October financial statements. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, moving on to bills over $1,250. Questions, comments?
Trying to get there.
Yeah. Still trying to get there.
What's the last item on there, Lynn?
Wayland,
Wayland.
oh, that's for burials.
Oh,
To Wayland digging grave spaces.
okay.
Bill Wormley, Wayland, and
They may have tossed in some, digging up some bad stones and helping re-pour the foundations. That's been an ongoing goal of the cemetery board and Phyllis's when they discover headstones that are really in bad shape. They try and repair and straighten a small number each year, and so that at least they sort of keep up.
Do we anticipate any purchases need to be made from our weekend fund?
We will probably get a bill for some emergency clamps and that sort of thing from HE Supply in Columbia. I haven't seen a purchase order yet.
Mike said they'd be the same price.
Okay. Jumping ahead just a little, because I'm sure this will come up later. We went through all the supplies we had for 4-inch pipes, because they're not very many in the system.
Sure.
And he called down, and somebody from that store came out on Sunday night and went through our picnic basket of supplies, and Rusty was driving down at the same time, was able to pick them up and get them back here in short order, so we are very grateful
Wow.
for that assistance. I don't know whether they'll be over 1250, but I sort of doubt it.
Gotcha. Anything under other general government?
What was the Boone County port? Is that just stock rock or what do we?
Yeah, I'm sure it's just rock for fill of trenches and that sort of thing. Base rock and clean rock, I don't know. Trying to think of specifically where the base rock would have gone. Maybe that was just also, again, refill stockpiles.
Yeah, I didn't know if it
I mean,
was
they-
stock or.
We buy by the truckload, and then we just use it on a day-to-day basis. And sometimes it's a little hard to apportion between various projects.
Is Asplin about done for the year? Or with their?
Yes, from my standpoint, yes, they are done. Depending on wet weather, they're not gonna be able to get in the backyards very easily. So we're switching over to where the electric crew, having done the burials that they had on their schedule, are now working on trees, either taking down dead ones that were previously identified or cutting back limbs that hang down too low over streets and sidewalks, that sort of thing. I don't think there's a lot of line clearance near streets because we've kept up with that pretty well, but there's always something. And imagine that there will be a lot next spring, because I would imagine the number of dead trees we identify that are already stressed and don't make it through the winter, it's going to be a pretty hefty number, I suspect.
Okay.
Anything under other general government?
No, sir?
Okay. Moving on to public safety, city prosecutor.
I have no communications from April. I don't.
Okay.
Our next court will be 1217. We'll have court this month. Scheduling conflict between court and prosecutor's office. Next court will be 1217.
Thank you, sir. Police department activity report in your packet. Any questions or comments?
looking for an email that I got about the police department here a week or so ago. I'd like to read that if I can find it real quick.
If it's good, just say it was good. If it's bad,
Well,
just say
it was a good email.
Oh,
All right, well, go ahead, I'll get you.
All right.
You're delaying us, we're not gonna make it out in 17 minutes.
I'll get it.
I have a record to beat here.
Okay.
Report on code enforcement.
Weren't you supposed to report on what you and Sandy have been doing about extra junk cars and all that
Yeah.
other stuff?
Yeah, but I'm not really in a position to say what we're gonna do with that. We've been compiling a list and making sure that when we strike, that we're right. So, some of them we've been able to tend to by just saying, we're getting ready to tend to this, and you can get some movement. So, that being said, I'm not gonna get ready to tend to it for another 60 days. So that seems to work,
I can say that Catherine and I were going to do our Ward 1 field trip here fairly soon. We were going to do it this weekend, but she had a death in the family. And so, to help along with what we had recommended in the last meeting. Roof repairs.
Okay, we finally got quotes from both individuals. As you recall, the way I did it was that the city will go to across to get the materials we need. One individual will do the removal and replace all the stairs and underlayment and the first row of plywood along each side of the roof peak. And we will supply a dump truck to haul away the materials. So basically, we're just asking somebody to bid on the labor of doing the roof. The two bids were in your packet. Low bid was from Mr. Fred Freet, who was in rural Centralia, for $1,900.
Who's the other guy?
The other one is
Harvey.
Brian Harvey
Oh.
for $2,290.
Blue Market Fair.
So what was the name of the low bid freak?
Freet.
Make sure you spell that correct.
Freet, and let me find,
I'll be back in a second.
F-R-E-E-T.
He signed it, you can just read this.
Yeah, just-
read
It's
it.
just a swirl.
I'm sorry, I did get a business card with the bid, I'm sorry.
Thank you, sir.
With using architectural shingles, I believe that the material costs will be in the order of $3,400. $1,900 for labor will make the cost of the roof $5,300. It's not something that was budgeted, but it's in bad shape, and it really does need to be done now. And I'll have to adjust elsewhere. So,
Out of curiosity, is there any thought of what, if we will need additional work, the clause at the bottom, where there's a $50 and a $20?
the extra work is if he has to remove
Plywood.
plywood, because it's not going to have any sort of effect on the amount of felt or shingles or anything like that. The shingles will be architectural shingles with 30-year warranty from that with Denny. And that adds about $100 to the cost because there's a manufacturer special that he has access to as long as we take it in gray, which happens to be the existing roof color.
Well, there you go.
Works fine for me, and I'll trade $100 for an extra 10-year warranty.
Oh,
About any
sure,
day of the
sure.
week. So,
I really don't know anything about, I know Mr. Harvey, of course, Brian.
right.
But I don't know the other guy, is he?
I talked to Denny, he says they're both
Comparable.
self-taught contractors and he helps both of them. And he had no
Qualms.
qualms about either one. So I will take that as an endorsement. No problems that he's aware of. Since we're asking them to do the work by themselves and not have any helpers, Denny said he would bring the materials over and with his forklift lift them up. He does that for other jobs anyway. And if we have to, we can grab one of the guys from the street department to help out for a half hour or so. Just getting materials up there. The rest of it, they should, I mean, if Ivan can do it by himself, these guys can do it by themselves. And, yeah.
Do you need action on this evening?
With the mayor gone and 2 aldermen gone,
Oh.
Mayor's gonna be back.
yeah, I know, but he's not here right now, so I don't. I would like to see work progress as quickly as
That's
possible.
what I figured.
Me too. That's
Before we get into an endless stream of bad weather. Now, this work should be done in a day and a half or so.
Because isn't it dispatch that it's affecting for them?
Yeah,
It's in the middle part of the building, but dispatch is really, it's where it's.
All those radios.
Lots of equipment in there.
How many dump trucks did they think would take?
Oh, gosh, it should take more than one.
nobody bothered to estimate, sir.
Well, I was just thinking, would it be cheaper to get a dumpster rolled in here for that, instead of paying a guy to go to the dump it, fuel, wear and tear on the vehicle?
Probably not. I don't think it's gonna take more than one load. I mean, it's a fairly straightforward roof and it isn't as big as you might think. I think all the material can go in one truckload. And under those circumstances, it would be at least as cheap as trying to have somebody from Veolia or anyone or somebody bringing up a large dumpster. And we really don't have a place to park a large dumpster. It would get in the way of his operations where
Oh, that's okay, when you do what you need to do.
he just went through fixed.
Oh, yeah, you do what you need to do, we can get by if we have to park wherever.
If we have a dump truck, we can
Yeah,
move it along the building if we have
As
to.
needed.
we're gonna have all the cars out of the alleyway, so whenever somebody goes to roofing, we'll park out front. I don't want us driving down the alleyway, pick up every nail and stuff. All obsessed about that anyway.
So you want to table this until?
Well, I prefer that everybody have the opportunity to say something.
So next meeting?
Yeah, it'll be, I
I
don't
just,
mind the extra delay. That means it probably won't get done until after Thanksgiving.
I'd rather see us go ahead with it.
I'm concerned with where it's.
I'm fine with going ahead with it. The only thing I'm still don't know this gentleman. I don't even, can't, what'd you say his name was?
Freak.
Freak.
Unless we have a,
I just can't place him, okay?
but unless there's cause to not accept a low bid, we will accept it.
What we did on the truck.
That was.
We did not.
We
Well,
closed it.
This was low.
I think, since I don't know the gentleman personally, I think probably if you need a
Yeah, I
reference,
understand.
go walk across the street sometime and talk to them, or wait until, tell you what,
Why don't we just tape it and wait and see if Denny comes?
right, if Danny Mason's here, you can
Okay.
see what his comments are and then make a decision.
Well, let's table these until we need to.
Okay.
Any other for police department?
How many phone calls you get Sunday?
Almost every last water customer we have called.
I'm telling you, I'd put a grease circle in that phone there and dispatch, keep them burning up.
Larry had
Terror.
extra dispatcher and an officer, and I was handling calls from,
Folks are just concerned.
Well, and if there's water, everybody wants to know
Well,
when they're gonna get back.
and that's our only conduit for information, so.
Yep.
And I did appreciate the call back after everybody said, no, we did get a call back saying that you tell everybody, because we were getting, I was getting.
My phone was blowing up.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the call.
And why did we wait till 6:15 to put that out on air? I mean, why didn't we put it out on air as soon as it happened? When everybody didn't have water? It's called the radio stations and the news stations.
I did before 6:15.
I thought they did right after they figured out it had happened.
As soon as
It was
we
never.
had a report that the water pressure was dropping below 20, I went and I don't recall the time, but it was pretty close right after. They were trying to work it hot. We wouldn't have had to issue the boil war notice under those circumstances, but as soon as it dropped down below 20 and we knew we were going to get it, that's when I made the call. And I just told the dispatchers, they got a list of all the media people, and I said, when you're done with that, call the mayor and the alderman. So maybe that was just the time that they got down to the bottom of the list.
We put that out just as quick as we can get to it,
Yeah.
but two people on two separate phones and then one person in the squad room covering the overflow. It was just labor intensive for a little bit, but we got everybody contacted best we could.
Even with 3 lines,
Yeah.
and it's spaced out. There was never any slack because people discovered they didn't have water at various times, like going flush
Yeah.
or coming back from a trip to Columbia or whatever. And so it just dragged out all afternoon. Not all afternoon, but, well, they started having low pressure reports.
Yeah.
You got called to church, didn't you?
Yes.
I got called at 11 o'clock.
Yeah, that was low
In the morning.
pressure, but it was operating pressure.
Yeah, we still operating.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I did laundry still.
I got a phone call at 11 saying they had low pressure.
Yeah.
I got home about 2 o'clock and went to wash my hands and there was no water at all. So I called the
Okay.
police department and said, hey, you got a water problem? Yep.
That may have been when they were opening the
Yeah.
hydrants, trying to be able to put the
Yes.
clamp on.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they had people out actually working on it from about 8. Yeah. You want me to address this?
Sure, I'm going to leave before I go to the fire department, which is next, so.
Whatever order, since we're already discussing.
Sure, yeah, we're already on the subject.
Records indicate that there was probably some sort of leak developing in that line 10:30 or so. That's when the water plant stopped keeping up with tower levels. And it broke loose about 3, if you look at the records on the elevation of the charts. Somebody finally noticed and called it in at 6:30 or whatever, and they were working on it. And I don't know who called it in, but thank you to that individual, because where it was located, it would have been terribly hard for somebody to find the way it was going. It was going just 10 feet over and dropping into the creek,
I went out there.
and in the rain, nobody would have noticed. So,
It was a mess.
as I was explaining to Dave a little earlier, there's a 4-inch line that comes from Columbia, ties into a 10-inch line, which comes along the tracks. The 10-inch goes underneath it, basically at the same place that there's a bridge work over the creek. And then it goes along the backside of all the houses along Reed Street, and the original 4-inch goes that way. They fixed that. Finally, they were able to clamp it just about the time that the towers were starting to go dry. And as soon as they fixed it, they found there was a break on a 4-inch line going that way that shouldn't exist. It's not on any map that we have. And the best we can suppose is an older line that was made redundant by the 10-inch line that became the major service out.
However, it was still hot.
Yeah, that's right. We had shut off valves here and here and here and here and here and up along Bar Street, and it wasn't touched. And we don't know how that, we don't exactly, it probably served these houses, but we don't know what else it served.
Yeah.
And we don't know how it ties in. But as soon as we clamped that one, then we found that leak, and we got that one taken care of, and then we found other points. And so what we eventually did was we capped right before it teed in, and we kept it going that way, and nobody's reported that they don't have service. So summer project is we're going to have to trace this and find out where it goes and disconnect it so it never happens again. And we'll probably have to keep an eye on this. This has got enough repair clinics in it now that it's a little dicey. So we may have to do some remedial work. We'll do it at the time and place of our choosing. But because it was on a 10-inch line, right next to that creek, it It was sucking a lot of water out of the tanks, and by the time we knew about it, we were getting low pressure alarms, and throughout the afternoon, we weren't keeping up. There was no water coming out there to both of our pumps, plus one borrowed from Water District number 10, in order to keep the hole emptied where we could get down and try and work it hot. Working it hot didn't work. It was slightly easier to work when there wasn't any water pressure. Once we made the clamps and ice stuff, we were able to slowly open up valves again, and the pressure was coming back up. Although, because lots of people gone for 4 or 5 hours without water, everybody was last flushing when they had the chance and trying to fix dinner and do their laundry and stuff like that. So it did, the system was filling back up as well as the towers, and it took a while. By midnight, we were probably back up to normal operating pressure, but it came back gradually. We left the pit open just in case there were any problems. When we built back up pressure, Mike was holding his breath. These sort of things that make sure it held. It's a 4-inch steel line. There wasn't any indication of corrosion or anything
I don't
like
see
that.
how it was hooked together.
Yeah, it must, whoever tied it into the 10-inch, there must have been some lateral torque on it, because when it broke, and I was out there the first time, the ends were lined like this. They weren't aligned really at all. That means that something, either this way or this way, there was pressure. And when that snapped, likely caused the other brakes on the line going that way. But it would expect steel pipe in good condition to give up. I don't know. It's got its repairs now.
But Mike said that was lower than the main. Is that right? Is that what he told me? It was
There would, I'm trying to recreate how he told me it, and he didn't sketch it out. It went down at a weird angle without any T's or angles, and then went back up. So somebody made it fit without the normal connections we would use on plastic pipe. So there had to be some torque there. But that thing's been in there, I would say probably since the early 50s. That would have been about the time they started building major housing on the west side of the tracks. So it was after World War II, but not a long time after World War II. And we've never had to touch it or had any problems since then. The problems we've had on the west side of town have been on the 10-inch where it tees off down around Whitman. Anyway, that's still there, and I don't know whether they covered it or not. They've been flushing the city per DNR instructions. We took samples, and they were at the lab first thing this morning. We hope to get results back right after lunch tomorrow.
Good.
There's no particular reason why the way that thing unfolded that we would have gotten cross-contamination, because it was rushing out. There was no way that we had any problem at the site that would have had a backflow. But we're still flushing, and the fact that the pressure dropped and there was air in the lines has created a little bit of, broke some sediment loose, so there was some brownish in some parts of town, not in all, mostly on that part of town. Somebody was quoted in the paper as describing it as pretty ugly stuff. I don't know what they're talking about, because nobody, I mean,
I live in that area, so. It was
I have a little bit of
Yeah, it
sediment
was
bathtub
not-
down there, not
horrible,
bad.
but
I mean, we flushed the hydrants on our semi-annual run through the city about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And so there shouldn't have been much.
Yeah, it wasn't horrible as far as that goes. I mean, it was brown. You could tell the difference when the color outside.
Okay,
It wasn't,
and Brenda reported the same thing where she
Anything
lives
major.
on Green Street.
yeah.
I don't think it was major, I don't think it was enough to stain clothes. The protocol is that we had to issue the boil order, we would have anyway, but now I can't rescind it until we have confirmation that there's no contamination. We should get that tomorrow. I firmly believe we'll have positive results on that, positive from our sense now.
Sure.
And the worst part is it affects restaurants, it affects the school, and they'll have to go through essentially another day of this. Because you just can't take chances.
I understand.
Commissioner Atwell called right after the news and had people from the county health department up here. They visited all the restaurants with the school, and they were down there when she was talking to Mr. Ford and the school principals on how to work this out, confirming that the steps we had listed were the proper ones.
They were very helpful.
Yeah.
I was
I wish I hadn't used the 48-hour term because it's going to be somewhat longer than 48 hours, but
That's usually the.
I don't have control with the trigger, and it's not a time period so much as having confirmation that there's no contamination.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've had a general boil order since I've been here. Nobody else remembers one. I mean, we've had some problems with lines where we isolated a small section, and then we super chlorinated and backflushed, and we did voluntary boil notices on door hangers for a couple of blocks. But we never had a complete citywide problem, and I certainly don't want to ever have it.
Do it again. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you that, after the Veterans Day ceremony, my wife and I went out to the highway to the grocery store, and there was somebody sitting at the, speaker at McDonald's, like they were trying to order, but the restaurant was dark. It was obviously closed. They were sitting there at the speaker like they were trying to order, so I don't know whether they were confused or what.
It was a bad situation, but a lot of people came together to help. Alderman Magley was out there, and thank you for your support. Mr. Leach brought pizza, other people were bringing coffee and hot chocolate. And, well wishes. We've had several calls from people today that I'm passing on the water department because they worked 17 hours on that day. We had a second situation yesterday that a lot of nonsense, I'll in a second, but everybody chipped in. It was kind of fortuitous that Pringers had pallets of water ready to make available, and it happened on a holiday. I mean, it's not very convenient, but could have been much worse.
Sure.
Yesterday, when people were starting to take the edge off of things in the water department, we had a report of a small leak over on Lakeview Street, just east of Jefferson. Turned out to be a valve to a fire hydrant. It was leaking when they uncovered it to try and correct the problem. It got worse very quickly. The gasket blew out. They couldn't tighten it down because the stainless steel bolts were really stainless steel coated, and that valve had been in long enough that it rusted through anyway. And they tried like the devil to work it hot, but they were not able to. They just got baths again. And so they had to go back a ways to get enough valves to isolate it. And then they cut it out and replaced it in about a half hour, 45 minutes or so. But just the second instant, which Had more than a few calls to the chief, I would imagine, saying, what pressure is coming in, what's wrong this time? Not as many. And that was something that's more par for the course for a water problem around here. We do not know the cause, other than maybe the torque from the original installation. Why it chose that time to give it up is anybody's guess.
Right, moving on to emergency management.
I don't have anything to report.
Protective inspection.
Okay. The house at the end of Sneed Street is now gone. They still have to find the sewer line and put a riser on cap it, because they indicated they would like to be able to reuse it as a residential lot at some point. Today I talked with Mrs. Yeager, who has a contractor. I would appreciate you don't quote numbers, James. Okay, thank you.
I don't
She said,
understand numbers anyway, so.
she indicated to me that it's gonna cost her about $5,000 and she has $3,300 and she's trying to find the rest. But that if we just run one of the 2-yard dumpsters out there, she's gonna be emptying out that house of contents next week, because she has some days off and she's gonna make it ready for a contractor to demolish the house that's down next to the senior center. She certainly would like it if we had the housing demolition subsidy, but last one went to the house on Sneed Street. I've already told Jackie Morris that it's not available, and I had to tell her that too. The question has arisen from both her and from the person who bought Bill Metter's old house down on Poole Street as to whether we're going to do it next year. I said I'm going to try like hell to keep it in the budget. Well, if I signed up now, can I get the money after the fact in the next budget year? Oh no, that's up to the board.
If the money's there, I'm assuming we would do first come, first serve, like we did.
Yes.
Well, but first come, first served after the fact, I mean.
Would you wait until the money's there before you allow them to sign up, or would you?
I would say we would wait, I mean, unless we want to, we haven't replenished the money, so I'm not sure that we should.
Yeah, we shouldn't let them sign up and then say we'll get it.
There isn't a guarantee that it'll be there.
Then next year it's not there, sorry.
But if it, yeah, I fully understand that, but just so I'm clear on what I'm telling them, if they say, establish a list, I'm going to take the chance that there's gonna be a subsidy, and I'm gonna go ahead and find and borrow the money to take down building Y. Will you allow me after the fact, after the house is already down, to sign up for the demolition subsidy? That's going to be the question, at least 2 cases.
Yeah.
And if I do that, Jackie will be here and say, why didn't you let me be on that list?
Sure.
I just don't think, I think that's opening up a can of worms.
Yeah.
I really don't want to get into.
Yeah, and that'll set a precedent.
So,
So we would probably wait till we know.
okay.
Well, I don't think you're gonna retroactively allow somebody, or allow somebody to sign up now on anticipation, and
Right.
it's, when it's available, you first come, first serve. And if they run out for the year, they run out for the year,
Which is what.
which is what we've always done, we just haven't run out in the past.
Yes, sir.
My name's Darrell Spall. You ought to put a date that you're going to do this, because first comes, first served is just whenever they hear about it, you know. I was lucky enough to ask you all to implement it again, and you all were, and so I was able to get on the first one on the list. And you guys quit doing it a few years back. So there ought to be something way that first come, served, first live. I understand what Don Borman's saying, and I understand what Landon's coming from, of making sure that we get the money, but still, I don't think that it would be that bad of a deal to go on and have a list ready.
On what date do you think we would have that?
Or a date.
No, for sure when we have money.
That's-
I'm still reeling away. I ran through only this afternoon, or first, the budget, I have to converse with all my department heads about vehicle purchases and stuff like that, so I have to make some definite cuts back based on the assumptions I've made, so it might be into January before I'm relatively assured that it's gonna be there.
And the budget.
Now, are we gonna give them so many days, so much time to tear this down, or you
Well-
just sign up, you get it, and then it may be,
Mrs. Yeager is acting on a demolition notice. I mean, we declared that house
Well,
a
I know
dangerous
that.
structure.
but, so say somebody comes in here, gets on the list, and then we give somebody a demolition thing, and this person's had it for 4 months, and they ain't tore this house down.
I thought there was like a 30 or 60 day,
No,
I don't remember,
it's not a,
not a big.
there is a date mentioned in the contract, and there's usually a date mentioned in the permit. Both of those are somewhat negotiable at the time we put it out. I ask them, how quickly are you going to get to this?
Mhm.
And if it seems too long, then I nudge them to an earlier date.
Okay.
But it's not in the ordinance as a specific no longer than.
Mine straight up said to ask me when I thought that I'd be able to, and I put 30 days weather permitting.
Yeah.
That's what it more or less straight out asked.
Yeah, that's more common,
And that's
than
just a
saying
normal
6
contract,
months.
basically.
Right.
But you were made me commit to what I was gonna be able to do,
Right.
instead of you giving me the stipulations. You had to have it done in 2 months, but I also knew there was money involved.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, and that's what, if we give them 1,700, or whatever we give them,
15.
15, then you got 30 days to get it tore down and cleaned up, or you don't get that money.
It goes to the next person. on
Yeah,
the
it
list.
goes to the next person on the list.
I think that's a good idea,
I mean,
to get it.
Right, but well, suppose you have an instance like Oliver's where he was in the progress, but he was also salvaging stuff out of that building for an awful long time before he brought it back home.
I think it was, what, 60 days?
No longer than that,
Well,
probably 90,
90?
from the time you signed the contract and I issued the demolition permit, it was probably this time.
On the other hand, he was actively trying to get the thing down.
Mhm.
Yeah, and most people aren't gonna
And
try
you
to
can-
salvage.
yeah.
That 90% of them aren't gonna try to.
Don't take care of Lenny's problem.
It's
Don't
much
take care of
property.
Lenny's problem now. You need to work with Linda to get it done.
Pretty clear that $1,500 is an incentive, but it don't pay for a demolition.
Sure, sure, we know that.
Does it? So I'll convey to her that we're not gonna be able to assist her on this one. And I am being generous because I understand her limited situation, and because it's not a house where somebody's occupying it. In reality, I mean, it's an eyesore, but it's not currently a danger to somebody in that sense. So that's why I've been understanding and let it ride a little. But presumably over the next 2 weeks, the contents will be empty, and her contractor will probably come in at the end of the month, and she's looking for $1,700, and I don't know where she's gonna find it. But I will do my best to make sure that there's another round for next budget year. But we have some other things. I'm sure that Creddy's gonna make a request for help, just like we give to the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, they probably will.
I haven't heard from them yet, but yeah, there's every time I push down the line, something else pops up, like
Yeah,
police station roofs and
yeah.
narrowband controls for emergency warning sirens. That's 11,000 we didn't plan on either.
Does this go under your protective inspection?
Yes, it certainly does.
Would you like me to
Oh.
announce this, or go ahead?
Sure. And after that, I have one more
Go ahead.
thing.
You can-
Um,
Yeah.
Clifford hasn't made his deadline. It begins to look like I might not have to do much of anything with this anymore, but
Yeah.
what happens now is that I need to confer with the mayor about a time that he will be here time that I can get a court reporter, that we can have the hearing before the mayor and issue the appropriate second notice with the legally required advance timing. So that will be working around holidays, working around the schedule. Have you determined whether you're gonna get to go out of town again?
No. Yeah.
So,
I would say we probably ought to do it as quick as we can, the way these
Yeah.
pictures look.
okay.
Did y'all read the letter that they sent? I mean, it was just a generalized letter telling him he needs to be working on it every day. And basically, that's what he's doing.
Okay, I have not been able to
So
see
you guys need to
it.
read, check that out. And I know it was very general what you sent him. Did you read that? I don't need to see the pictures. I understand what you're talking about. And I'm not saying I don't agree.
I mean, this is gonna be, eventually it's gonna be in the doctor's office.
De La Rosa, the letter you sent to him.
Well, since then, though, the building is now rusting and in much worse shape than what we realized when that letter was sent. Also, because I've been over there and looked at it, there are cracks in that in the walls. The thing is going to come down.
Are you an engineer, like you asked me before, darling?
Yes, I am an engineer.
Not that type of an engineer.
No.
And that building is exactly like I said it was gonna be. You got more of a danger with that building you all took down than you have anything. And you're gonna be liable all the way through.
Well,
This 21st of this
you
month.
can say what you want.
You all did away with Tom Wells' report, did you, or did you not?
I gotta give them at least 10 days, or maybe 2 weeks.
Oh,
Yes, you did.
how about the
You could change it into advisements.
It's fine.
I'll check my calendar.
And that building is coming down. It is falling.
4 o'clock work?
Yeah. The back wall.
Lot difference between this building over here.
Let's
Lot
stop,
difference.
okay? We're just arguing here, we don't need to do that.
No.
I am just discussing what he just cut me down on before, and then they asked Ferris, you all asked Ferris to make an apology to Five Oaks. He was right on it.
Well, that's,
You all still have nothing.
Is there anything more under protective inspection?
The document.
Oh, that's right.
The Ferris,
I have
yeah.
a document for the, I don't know the address to the building. Let's see if it's on here. 129.
130?
Oh, it's, I guess it's right next to 129 North
Okay.
Allen.
Belongs to Newton Davis Jr. We had previously sent a notice to him, and he did some caulking, and he fixed the bad electric
Yeah. and
problem, but it's still a concern.
His neighbors are really concerned about you know, they put new windows in their building and they're leaking now because his building is, of course, if you read this, I gave you a copy.
Pulling away.
It's pulling away from their windows. And they're really concerned about getting something accomplished. And evidently in the letter it says before, winter will freeze, it will freeze and expand and continue to introduce movements and affect the structural integrity of the front facet, which will in turn cause movement and cracking of the front facet of 129 North Allen.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know exactly what, you know, what our action will be, could be.
I will review this and see if there are points in here that can address under the code that haven't been previously addressed or have been corrected, but the corrections haven't worked. Now, Mr. Davis, when I contacted him, I got his wife who said he had been ill. I'm not sure that has cured itself. And the building is for sale.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how far we will get with him taking action. And it's sort of like dealing with Clifford. I mean, we want to do something, or we want them to do something, but we don't have the money to do it unilaterally.
Just an idea here, a lot of our buildings downtown are getting in disrepair. The older buildings, Clifford's, that one, I saw the old movie theater cleaners, whatever it is, the empty building now. The wall fell off a bit into the alley, he's repairing it now, parts of it. And if you you walk through the alley, if you ever walk through the alley around that area, behind the guard, behind Adams, as you can see,
Yeah.
the buildings are in disrepair. Is there any type of grants or anything that we can try to help these people out instead of, you know, getting to where Clifford's at now and condemning the building and not being able to borrow any money and you know, cause he cannot borrow no money
No,
off
'cause
the
it was
building now
condemned.
because it's been condemned.
Once you put the condemned on it, you can't get it off.
Bank.
And you could do that
Somebody-
to Newton Davis, and his building wouldn't be worth nothing.
And like I said, the buildings are worth nothing once we condemn them. I hate to do that, you know, to people,
Right.
just like you know,
Given that we did not even get past second base with seeking a grant for 105
mhm.
and that demolition, I severely doubt that we're gonna qualify for a broader
'Cause I mean, we're,
grant to do multiple buildings in downtown.
Can't we try?
we're at
The
the
chamber
point.
tried a few years ago to do something, and they tried, basically you have to get property owners to sign up for it, and everybody's got to
And
do all this.
There's more grants now, though.
There
There are not as many grants out there as you think.
On that there is,
Most
I
of
have
those-
seen them.
Most of those grants, also, you have to have a match,
And
25%.
anyway, they could not get
match.
enough people
So-
interested in doing it to even apply for the grant, to make it worthwhile to apply.
Yeah.
Whether those circumstances will change or not, I don't know.
Mr. Nelson wanted to do that on 105 North Calvin originally.
I think you did.
Well, that may be, but unless you have enough people that apply,
No, that's
some of these grants, in order to qualify for them, you can't get them on a single building, you have to do a whole block.
It would just be nice if you guys could do this, because it would help, what Ferris, I believe, is saying, is it would help people another option, like Mrs. Linda Yeager, on her place, you guys are gonna be taking her to court if she don't get something done, and she's gotta come up with $1,700 is what she's saying. Now, she might be able to borrow that money if she could turn around and show them where the bank, where she's getting that money back. That's where I believe Ferris is coming from.
Well, I understand what you're saying, what I'm saying is,
I'm not trying to fight
the
you.
chamber tried to do this, and they got nowhere with it.
Chamber's not winning.
The same grants were available. And those grants, they required such stipulations on them that they couldn't do them.
Our
We're at the
town is
point.
falling apart.
Oh,
Well,
yeah. We're at
Our
the
water
point
line just did, our town is.
downtown is
You wanna protect our downtown?
in a lot of disrepair. And I have to agree with that.
Above, Larry Clements, his building's all cracking in the inside.
But my suggestion was just to, maybe we could try to
I
talk to.
will
Give them another
make
option.
another search, talk to people
I'll-
about what's up there.
And
I'll
the
look
chamber
at
too, you know, if
the
we wanna try to.
regional planning commission too, since I'm on the board.
Okay, it's not like we're unique. I would disagree that our water system's in bad repair, it's not.
That pipe, that
One
pipe.
pipe.
I was talking about that one pipe
Okay.
only. And I'm trying to get along, man. I would like something seen done instead of people just prosecuted and ran out of town. Some another option for them to get the money, to get this thing, stuff fixed. The longer it goes, the worse it gets.
And I'm not trying to argue, and I understand the situation. If there are grants,
You want these?
No,
they're going to require matches, they're going to be for concentrated areas like a downtown. They're not gonna be available to Mrs. Yeager.
No, I was not talking about, what I was talking about there was telling her, you're gonna be first on the list, lady, just to get your stuff done.
before we.
As soon as the money
But
gets
the list isn't gonna
appropriated,
be
you're on the
available
list.
for 4 months.
And I understand that, but she might be able to go to the bank and borrow the money if it was said that she's gonna get $1,700.
We don't even know we're gonna have the money though.
We
I
just-
understand that, but you have
So
several
you
years
want
in
her
the
to
past.
pick up a loan.
You have several, she's gonna have to anyway.
And
You all are
Understand,
making her
but-
do
I
it.
understand, but my point is that with the assumption that we're gonna come later on and give her this money.
You have in the past every year. There was 1 year you didn't do it for,
We,
Mexico's been doing this for 25 years.
Sure.
we just decided that we weren't going to let somebody apply now and pay them later.
And I understand that, just telling her that she's first on the list and to get the money appropriated, that's nothing. That's not a contract on your own part.
Don't think so.
It's enough of a contract that,
Verbally, it's not a contract. Until you tell her she'll get her money on such and such
well,
day.
it's not something the bank is gonna take action on either.
They might work with her, since she's got a property right across the street and she's gonna have 2 empty lots that she'll be able to borrow money from instead of them just being condemned. That's what your all's next step is condemning them. I took down a house. I took down a house by myself. I took down several of Jackie Morris's houses.
Now Jackie, some of the ones she takes down,
We had Lee England take them down, but I was there on every step of the house.
those are, in general, the ones she took down are not ones that.
They weren't livable.
They may not have been livable, but they didn't receive city notices.
Had they have, it's no difference in the land is what I'm trying to say then.
We have 2 other houses that we had sent letters to also on Allen Street.
Yeah, one's the one with the foreclosure,
Yeah,
and like I reported to you, there had been conversations between them and real estate people, but nobody's actually done it. Nobody's pulled the trigger, and it's definitely not something that can be rehabbed. It would have to come down to one that, escape me, with 400 block.
yeah. There's 2 kind of close to each other. The first one
Well, the first one,
from this.
first one going south is empty,
Mhm.
in essence abandoned, but it doesn't match the dangerous structure definition. The one that's got boarded up, that one does.
Mhm. Okay. There's another one on Hickman Street also that we haven't addressed. Kind of sits in the trees, you don't really see it unless you drive down Hickman Street.
North
Oh, right there, Switzerland,
Whistler and
Hickman.
Hickman, yeah.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody live in it for many.
You can't even see the
Or if
house.
there is, there
You
may
can't
be.
even see the house.
There's one Columbia Ready McSon's land, Columbia Ready McSon's from Angel's old house.
Yes, I talked to them about it.
Looked like they
Well,
had
actually,
this
there's
twin
2 on
over.
Hickman, there's one right,
And there's a hole in the roof of the church, the abandoned church.
The one across from Forest Lane
Yeah,
and next to
the
the.
Yes.
Forest. There's a hole in that roof. And if we want to continue on,
Yes.
I did my,
I understand.
Yeah, we're gonna do our.
I've already done mine.
Okay, so that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, kind of did look at you.
And I have responses for most of those. The one on Hickman, I don't visualize.
It's just a tiny little house. It's a little,
Very big.
I think it's a little blue house.
I don't know. I can't tell. I can just see it from the road.
And then there's a white one right behind it, it's got a hole in the roof too.
The one on the block foundation,
That's,
on Bar, that's pretty dangerous too.
that's not dangerous, but it meets the definition of dangerous. Each of those I made contacts with, and we get back to the same thing. How far do I go to push somebody to go bankrupt in order to satisfy what we're doing?
You almost need to get everybody up on the same step though.
Yeah, that's,
Everybody got notices and requests. I enforce it to the amount that I think I can without pushing people totally off the edge. Reverend Hargrove has the one on blocks. He's trying to pay off his mortgage so he has it free and clear and can take it down. He recognizes the problem. But that's not something done in a month or 2. The church, I talk to Mary about every couple of weeks. The guy who ends up, now that the corporation has been reinstated, there's one guy that's in charge. I thought it was going to be sold to the people in Columbia and the church down there, or given to them. It hasn't happened. The guy who Merrick deals with is an over-the-road truck driver, very hard to get in touch with, and so it keeps dragging on.
Sending them notice.
and what, and I have to say that if, like I said before, if we're gonna
about the four step,
everyone else.
four step on Clifford.
You know what I'm saying? It's the same.
At least get everybody on the
I
second
don't
step.
wanna be,
Yeah, well, I
feel
think,
like I'm trying to, you know, be on one person, cause I do agree that.
do we know how much,
Narragansett does.
how much business Clifford is actually doing out of his?
He does a
He
whole
does a
lot.
lot.
He does a whole lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's always busy, as far as
His-
I know.
And he does it for people that don't have no money.
Yeah.
The business he does involves labor, he doesn't pay a lot of sales tax on what he does, so I have no way of judging, even if I could release
There's
it.
not a mechanic place in town that does it though, that pays.
Yeah.
Not that much.
He's the only.
Small
he's
engine
the only one
repair,
that
there's
does that
other
stuff.
small
Small
engine
towns,
repair.
but yeah.
And then, that's kind of where I've always been with this, is that, that's why I keep mentioning these other houses when we mention Clifford, because I want to be fair to everyone.
I wanna be fair too, but I also feel that it's, my experience has been, I actually get more done in the end by trying to negotiate my way
Yeah.
into a compromise
And I'm
instead of
definitely
sending
fair, too.
notices that hasn't worked in some instances. But in other instances, the conversation, like Mrs. Yeager, whether we give her the subsidy or not, she's trying to go ahead, even if she has to find a way to borrow the other 1,700.
Yeah.
And there is no one-size-fits-all answer.
I
There
agree.
is no silver lining.
And we have to
There's no to hell
prioritize it, too.
despite the way
You know, we
the
can't do
way to it.
everybody at once. You know, it's gotta be,
You can get everybody on the same, near the same step though.
There are not going to be enough grant monies available to cure our problems.
You're gonna end up getting stuck with a whole bunch of properties too.
That's what we don't
It
want.
could be worse, we could be Paris or Monroe City.
no, it could.
Well, that's where we're, exactly.
No, they're all businesses going out of town. They're leaving. So you want that to happen?
That's-
Wouldn't you like to get along with people? So we can give them another way of avenue of getting the money?
There's no money for the city to give to private.
No, but if you just see about the grants.
We're
You've
gonna
seen
look
about
into
the
it.
grants before.
And
I was talking,
We're going to look into it.
We're gonna look into it. Okay. We're gonna look.
And you lucked out. The public comment, we need you to step up here because we're recording these now. It just dawned on me, we have.
I just showed up like, I'm working.
Yeah, okay, no, it just dawned on me.
You're supposed to be over there.
Um,
I'm trying to stick it in your face. I would love to say something for, we be able to work with them to give them more time. I'm not trying to be a horse's butt to y'all.
Well, that's
at
what
all.
I've done
I'm trying to Really, give you other ideas.
That litany
And how-
of places I just went down that the alderman had mentioned, in almost every case, I've worked with them and tried to give them more time to accomplish what's necessary, including Mr. Del Rosa.
Well, that building over here, if you got your ad in, or your grant in before at the time, we ran out, is what was said before.
No,
No,
No.
The grant wasn't run out before?
No.
no. We applied, we did not get funded.
We got the grant out late. Did we
No.
not?
no, that's not true.
Really?
Yeah.
Absolutely guarantee it, because there was no deadline.
I'd watch the guarantees.
Is there anything more in protection inspection?
No, I will look into this and see how I might take at least another push on Mr. Davis.
Denny's gonna be here at all?
Apparently not.
Okay, so, and is there any other?
We're gonna move on the,
Well, we talked about we're gonna get input from Denny, but we don't need that input now.
Your discretion.
I would like to move on it. So I would entertain a motion.
I would make a motion that we, go ahead with the, low bid from, Mr. Free, whatever.
It's quick.
I,
Oh,
Your
okay.
second.
I, still would like more information on Mr. Freet.
All you're gonna do is delay it.
Well, then, if we're gonna delay it, I'd rather spend $300 more for someone that I know that's in town.
Well, if somebody wants to sue over that, they can sue over that, and they will succeed in winning, because I've seen the lawsuits, how the courts have decided those.
Over what? I'm sorry.
If somebody wanted to sue over not getting that bid, they could, because we don't have any reasons for not giving them the low bid. We can choose the lowest and best bid, but unless there is a reason for rejecting his bid, and there's not, then we really need to accept his bid.
Well, the reason being is that we're trying to support local businesses now.
He's rural Centralia.
That's where I'm saying,
And-
I don't know.
And all the
'cause I don't
materials
have
are
any of the
coming from,
information in front of me.
and all the materials are coming from
Oh,
lacrosse.
I understand that, that's awesome.
So,
Who are you wanting input from? How about Mr. Freeman?
Anyone?
Glenn already told you what Denny said.
Well,
do you say how long it's gonna take to repair the roof? To fix it?
It's more like, tell me how long it's gonna take to repair my iPhone, because it's playing a password that doesn't seem to be.
Yeah.
Password for the exchange account.
Ah,
I'll get together with you after the meeting.
okay.
Do you happen to have Denny's number?
I do.
Are you trying to get the roof on?
Yes,
I've sent a couple people back up here in the last couple days.
we have two bids from.
I got
Mr.
one.
Miller, I sent, Andrew Miller.
It's,
Okay.
881-5879.
I'll call.
We have one
Friday.
from Mr. Freet that I don't know, and from,
Brian Harvey.
Brian Harvey that I do
Talk to
have
him.
seen work from. That is local,
How much was Ryan's compared to the other guy?
300 and
Difference?
Do they have fire department there?
1900 versus 2290.
Where's the other guy?
Denny? You gonna make it to the
Centralia's
next
all.
meeting?
Huh?
Rural Centralia.
Okay. Nice. One of the aldermen had questions about the qualifications, Mr. Freed. Qualifications to do the roof. All right, thank you. Bye. However you shut that off, he's coming over, he's over. He'll be over in just a few minutes.
Yeah, whether, yes, the guys just don't know what it is.
Well,
If we're trying to
I would
support
consider,
local business.
his address is Highway T Centralia.
They're at Rolena, or. Well, Brian Harvey does a lot of roofs in town.
And that's what I know, and that's what I know.
And I know that some other people may have made inquiries after the fact.
And I know, that's
The way this
why I
went-
sent word.
Is we put an ad in the paper asking to establish a list of interested contractors so we can explain the narrow stipulations in order to stay out of prevailing wage rate and OSHA requirements and all that other stuff. And I had 4 phone calls, 2 of which were large companies that were in the area doing the roof after the hailstorm out of Kansas City and other places. When I told them what was involved, they never got back to me. So that left Mr. Freed and Mr. Harvey as people who wanted to bid on the project. We had sat down, I then put together the specs, not onerously, but at least narrow that down, and both of them submitted bids. And those bids were in before,
I apologize.
I wouldn't recognize
I
Mr. Miller.
didn't-
Somebody came in after the bids were open.
And I sent them, I did not, there was not a whole lot of time for me to read the paper, and the guy was doing a roof for me, and I said, come up and bid the
Young man?
roof. Andrew Miller,
He didn't mention name, but he was a younger
Yes, sir.
man,
Yes, sir.
early 20s.
yes sir, about 27,
He came in
blonde hair,
several hours after the bids were open, and so it wouldn't have been fair to
and I understand that, I wasn't aware that it was past bid time, and I wasn't trying to, I was just trying
We
to
were
get
late on the
a
bids.
cheaper
anyway.
person.
They were both late on their bids anyway, I think.
yes, and so I rebid with the new timeline,
Yeah.
and both of them made it then.
What we're waiting on, Denny, is Ernie as Mayor Rice.
Shop heaters.
So
And
you're Package.
one.
Yeah.
We had budgeted 1,800, Hancock can do it for 1,400. We really need two. Whatever other problems I may have with the budget,
I'll do it.
down and trying to put some raises in and that sort of stuff.
What's up?
This late in the year, I'm facing the same constraints that we either do one or we don't have the money to do the other one next year at all. I mean, we can do one and say we're gonna budget for another, and it's not gonna have a great consequence. I'm gonna have to find that money somewhere, but it'll be at the expense of some big project. It's not like this is all that important.
So do we have the money for both of them now?
That's the 20.
Or do we have to find $1,400 more to buy the second one now?
I think we have the money now. We've already had the unforeseen, well, I mean, you got 5 months to go, and there are several unknowns. Sales tax is trending up, but we've had
Well, why don't we
radio.
buy one now, and then in 5 months, if we got the money, we'll buy the other one then.
Well, that's
They-
fine.
Do they need one right now for this winter? Is that why we're?
The
or do they need
reason
two?
Phil would like to have both is he would like some consistency. He doesn't want to end up with 3 separate types of heaters from 3 separate merchants. He likes some uniformity.
Who put the last one in?
I don't remember. I suspect it was Hancock, but I can't guarantee it.
So do you need movement on this today?
No, that can wait until the regular board meeting.
Any,
Roof, I guess.
any.
Any.
I will confirm that it was Hancock.
Well, before we move on to the
And I
fire
may have some
department,
better budget.
we want to input on Mr. Freed. I guess nobody knows who this person is, the other roofer.
Well,
Quality,
Oh, no, he's fine. I mean, I can't even tell you how many roofs we've done with him this year. I quit counting track, and I don't want to know how many. And, he's originates from, he's married to a girl who is from the Sunnydale area, you know, the,
Adventist.
Adventist, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, I mean, he's married a girl there, and I knew her dad from Harvey from years ago, so. But he's done work all he's done this all his life, so.
is sufficient.
Sure.
I'm not sure what you were looking for specifically.
I'm assuming that it's illegal to take the highest bid. is what Don
Well,
tells me.
no, it's not illegal to take the highest bid, it's illegal to throw out the lowest bid without having a good reason to have to throw out the lowest bid.
Well,
How many bids did you have?
one of them was $390 difference. Brian Harvey is one, and
Either one of them are capable of.
And it was just the local, and I didn't know that.
So one Centralia address is local, the other's not?
No, I didn't say that. He said rural Centralia, which was.
I live there.
Right.
Brian lives in Centralia, I mean.
What's your
it's-
rural Centralia?
I'm rural Centralia, but I used to have a business here in town, so I mean,
Yeah, I was-
here in town.
Okay, well, that was just, I mean, rural Centralia, I never heard of the guy, so I didn't know.
I prefer somebody don't drop me because I live in rural Centralia.
Didn't even know.
And my only question is, does that satisfy with your?
Yes, that was fine.
But either one of them.
So I will entertain a motion.
I think Don made.
Don already made a motion.
Oh, motion to the table, second?
You seconded it.
I can't second you.
Oh, I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Who's up for?
Roof of this police department.
Who?
Freaked.
Okay.
report. It is in our packet. Any questions or comments?
You got all the remodel done?
No. Got a major part of it done.
Since we're
Yeah,
going
that looks
viral, do you
good.
need volunteers to come over and help you? I'm gonna call for volunteers out here to help the fire department finish their project.
We'll get to it.
I spoke with Mr. Hoppick, who said I needed to come over because it really looked good.
I mean,
It does, looks very good.
I've probably got 70 hours involved in it so far,
All right.
Thank
but I'm not done yet either.
$0 an hour, that's a pretty good deal.
Huh?
At $0 an hour, that's pretty good.
Pretty damn good, ain't it?
Yes, sir.
We're gonna bank
I
on
got a bunch of work in my house.
Wrong.
Oh,
Anything for fire department?
I did go out and place the candy for Christmas morning to the 2 stores. They give me.
Place the order?
Uh-huh.
Place the order.
Well, I didn't really, I told them, see what they'll give me for the amount of money that we have allocated for
you.
that.
Is it all or nothing, or are you going to split it?
No, it's cut in half. Don't wanna let this store have that half, and this store can have that half. But one store got a little extra last year, but they put a little extra in there, didn't explain the rules, you know, so. This year the rules have been told, that's all money but kids. Yeah, most store kinda, but we always try to get the apples and oranges, you know, and that comes through, really, I think the store buys them through the FFA, or the FAA buys the whole thing through the store. And he kind of, that was like, that, the bidding one to do the X amount of money. Now, if you can supply that with that part, that's fine. So, that ought to be.
Anything else for fire department? I would entertain a motion.
I got a question before you. And this is for the public. My daughter is one of the managers at McDonald's.
Come on, front.
I can be heard from.
Gotta be on-
You gotta be on the microphone.
All right. My daughter works at McDonald's as a manager.
Name and address.
Darryl Spalding. I live in many places. They're very confused on what time the boiling order is.
We won't know until it comes up from the lab.
And I understand that, but they're already saying 6 p.m. and then they're getting other advice that it's not 6 p.m. and they'd just like to know the truth. When they call the police department, yesterday they said 6 p.m. Not putting no blame on nobody, there's just a lot of confusions.
Yes.
And the health department's been there today, like Lynn said. They've been here, they were here yesterday and today.
I was not aware of them being here today, but that's good.
Yeah, it is.
But it shouldn't be.
When we issued the original notice,
Should be 24 hours or 48 hours from when they buckle it up.
we said 48 hours at a minimum. And in the notice that went on the website, we specified what time that was, and followed by a sentence saying, we will not rescind the boil order until the lad has to come back. But, you know, when you put a time out there, even a fuzzy time, it becomes sort of fixed. And I understand that, and I regret that I ever set a time.
And I didn't know that it was you, and I never tried to put the blame on you, sir.
That's what I had.
I'm just saying that they're confused, they don't know where to call, because they're being told different things, and the health department is over everything, I know.
By noon tomorrow, you should have the results.
The city website
We're
will,
all
like,
It will be on the website as soon as I have the results, assuming they're okay. All the media will get there, and presumably the dispatcher will be able to do it in a more compressed time than.
So is there any way we can get it in the
And it'll
paper?
be on the website, and it'll be on the guard's website.
We probably won't get into that.
Well, you could put in there that, call the police department or wherever to get,
The newspaper for
reason.
today has already been.
I know, sir,
Yeah.
but I'm talking about the people that don't hear, or you all don't call, that call up there to the police department. There's still 2 things being said up to date.
But
That's all.
as far as I know, the newspaper's already got the printer.
No, they don't.
You're not posted.
Tonight, don't you?
Did you
It's
mention a hard and fast time?
It's already printed, and I used your updated verbatim verbiage in the article, which will be on the front page, something to the effect of noon tomorrow. What I can do is either tonight or tomorrow when I get in, stick that on Facebook or something, and, or, well, it's on the web. The 48, the approximately noon Wednesday or whenever the lab results get back is already on the website.
Right.
Okay.
And that's still the time I expect to, and
When I get more
anybody jumps the
information
gun,
from
I
you-
don't think that there's any health concerns. but-
When I get more information, I will update that.
Darrell, I don't mean to speak for you, but I think your point was simply that there was mixed messages.
Pardon me?
Your point was simply that there was mixed messages.
Yeah, that was what, and it was just to get everybody on the right page. It 48 starts when the time they get it buckled up. They got it buckled up at 12 o'clock last night or 11:30. They said they started running out of water at 2:30. Pretty much they didn't have nothing at McDonald's.
But you notice on your Facebook, note that
I'm just trying to be
anybody who
helpful.
drinks a drop of that water will dry a horrible convulsing death.
Let's not do
I hate when somebody gets sick over this, you know.
Well, I think that's why we believe that it will be fine because it was such an outflow rather than we need ability for it to be contaminated.
Right.
However.
And I do recognize you gotta get the test back too.
We're all gonna make darn sure, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Point taken, thank you.
One last thing.
Oh, sure, certainly, sir.
We have signed, sealed, delivered, and recorded, and that's a copy for you, and if you think that you need to take a copy over to D&D, that's fine. Now, we got a 20-foot back from Ford Chevrolet.
Oh, good.
Did we finally finish everything we needed to do out there?
Thank you.
We finished everything we need to do out there, so we get it back now?
What else can we do?
Totally independent action, sir. I will say for the record, and I'll explain it at length, Mr. Angel, I'm saying that the EEZ application is in, is being reviewed, might actually get through the reviewers before the end of this week. Then it goes over to the Capitol and various people on the political side have to sign off on it. And it's a holiday season and the legislature is in session, and that might be to our benefit and it might not. It could be as long as 4 weeks, but they're going to try to press the issue to get it as quickly as possible.
Well, at that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I'll move that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Good night.
Sorry it wasn't 20 minutes, sir.
I was gonna
I
say,
didn't think it
I thought I was
was
gonna make it.
Did you read this thing from the River City,
I just gave it.
I just got it, I wanna read it, and what I see of it right now is, we need to move on this thing first.
he's not a PE,
He's not a what?
he's not a PE, professional engineer.
You're not